Good morning to everyone. Sorry for the delay, but in a Czech academical environment, we have a habit called academical 15 minutes, which means that we should be able to keep waiting for 15 minutes for our professor. So we have to keep 15 minutes for waiting for our Nikola. Niko is still not here. Perry is coming, Niko is coming. Okay, so. Amen. Okay. So we are completely perfect with the time. But let's officially start today. Last session of our workshop. Just an organizational point to the beginning. We have just discussed with Tomek that we will probably try to connect this session with the last one, the Faroe one. Originally, we had planned to, make some break and then open some time for the discussions. But basically, I think that the program was so dense, and especially evening social event was so, power consuming that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to make another break, and that we will simply connect these both sessions all together. And I suppose that we might be able to finish around 12 or shortly after 12, which would be, I think, the simpler solution for all of us. So that's from the organizational side, and I will just welcome also our online visitors. I am happy that they are still here with us and that they are so patient and were able to wait 15 more minutes until we were able to gather here in the room. And I will stop my talking and start to pass the word and officially start this session. The first speech should be held by Ylva Sommerland from Swedish National Library. And the topic of her talk should be quantitative analysis of Swedish national bibliography data, a case study. So, Ylva, please, floor is yours.
Thank you. So I will talk about how we at the National Library of Sweden have worked with publishing statistics from national bibliography data. I have a background as a cataloger for the Swedish National Bibliography, but now I work since 2015. I work with this yearly presentation of the publishing statistics. So I will come back to that, but first let's start maybe with a definition. What is so special with the national bibliography? What is a national bibliography? And of course, the answer to that question would be a presentation in itself, because I would have to talk about the history of national bibliographies and why they came into existence in the first place, and the national variations and variations in scope and so on. But for the topic I'm going to present today, I think we can settle with this definition from IFLA bibliography section presented on their homepage. So I should read it. National bibliographies are a permanent record of the cultural and intellectual output of a nation or country, which is witnessed by its publishing output. They gather the bibliographic information of current publications to preserve and provide ongoing access to this record. So there are two parts in this definition. National bibliographies are an overview of the publishing output and a metadata source, a curated metadata source. So in 2015, we asked how we could present what is possible to do with national bibliographic data to our stakeholders, researchers, and journalists mostly. And then we decided to do these reports where we presented some of the statistics on a yearly basis. so our ambition wasn't to present all statistics that we had compiled, but just some of it. And therefore we chose to present it through different themes each year. So we have had biographies, life stories, translations, self-published books, and health books, and climate change and crisis. And this last year, we looked closer at how the pandemic might have affected the published output in Sweden. And this year we also made a change. So we changed the title of the compilation from the National Bibliography in Numbers. That's what this one was called. And I know some of you understand Swedish in here, so you can read. And we changed it to the Publishing Pulse, Trends in Swedish Book Publishing. So when we did this, we also changed the format. And I should also say that the former reports were used as course literature at the Swedish universities on publishing studies. So I can reveal that the professor was confused when we changed this from report to a brochure and poster. So this is how it looks now. So we have two parts. There are 4 pages in this part presenting the statistics from last year. And then we have the theme, which is translations. We made a subway map to visualize three of the most translated Swedish crime fiction novelists. The translation travels from Swedish that they went. So on this page, so this is the National Bibliography is the numbers of total number of books catalogued in the National Bibliography. Printed books was 11,662. So what's included in this number is printed books, as I said, and it's commercial books that are distributed in bookstores. And now we will look a bit closer at the results of how the pandemic affected the Swedish publishing statistics, but you're not supposed to be able to read this page, and it is also in Swedish that some of you can read, of course, but I will tell you what it's included. But I also wanted to show you the graphic design, which I will return to. And so when we should investigate the pandemic in the publishing output from last year, we thought we could look closer at guidebooks, printed guidebooks. And of course, most of us don't use printed guidebooks anymore. We have everything we need in this updated, and the information is updated. And so, but still there are published about 100 printed guidebooks in Sweden every year. And we know that the pandemic, of course, changed how we moved in the world and our vacation habits. So we moved more in the geographic, in our own country and in nature. So, and this did affect, the result was that we found that it did affect, first here, if we look at the subjects, most books that were published, guidebooks, were on hiking. So, and if we look at the years before the pandemic and up to the pandemic, there also is a significant change in hiking books, guidebooks on hiking, and having vacation in the nature. So maybe this is a so what result, as Sylvia talked about the other night. But it's still interesting that it has had effects. And you could also think that when being in the woods, maybe you want to let go of all these digital things and maybe the reception isn't so good in the woods always also. But now I also heard yesterday that some of the woods even were closed in some countries during the pandemic. So this is another way of showing it. I will tell you what you see in this visualization. To the right, we have 2020, the titles of the guidebooks in 2020, and to the left, the titles of the guidebooks in 2018. And if you look at the titles, we have on 2018, there is a significant amount of destinations abroad. We have New York, Prague, Budapest, Algarve, Oslo, Paris, New York, and so on. But if you look at 2020, the titles are significantly dominated by destinations in Sweden. So every year we also present the total translation into Swedish, which languages are translated into Swedish. And in this visualization, we have, of course, excluded English, which is totally dominating. So if we should have included English, it would cover the whole page. But some things we have found during these years since 2015, that there are always 4 languages that are dominating the translation, and it's French, German, and our Nordic neighbors, Denmark and Norway. And then we have the tail of languages. So French was the most translated language into Swedish last year after English. And this result also is affected, of course, a little bit or in a significant way by who win the Nobel Prize in Literature. So probably French will be number 2 after English next year too, even if most of Ernaux's books already are translated into Swedish. There are new editions, of course. So what I also wanted to highlight in this presentation is the importance of graphic design. So I got this compilation from our graphic designer last night, actually. So here you can see, this is from from the 2020 edition. So we have had these visualizations every year since we started. And here you see my visualization done in Tableau Public. And this is the designed image. So I can read what it, in order to make images and diagrams clear and coherent, we reduce the color scheme to preferably only 2 main colors. In this image, dots have been regrouped in a quite organic way, so the tail is more evident. You can see that there are these 4 languages, but also some that are quite big too. And then we have this one from 2016, and I wish I could zoom in a little bit for you, but but you see the patterns, and the designer then used it in the colors too. So it became a signum for the reports. Right, I wanted to show you. So this is another before this map. When we started to sketch how it would look, it wasn't easy to to get an order in these subway lines. So we actually had to exclude some cities to make it work, and actually the big difficulty was to choose which authors and which titles should we choose for this presentation, because there are so many. So we chose crime novelists because we know that that's a big translation of Swedish crime novelists, and then we chose the 3 most translated: Camilla Läckberg, Lars Kepler, and Niklas Dag och Natt. Maybe some of you have read one, have read them. Great. And then we used, from the authority files, we also presented all the name, what do you say? Name forms in all the languages that we had in the authority files. So this is the result, and this image is before. And the map in the background is actually from our, I have a lot of them. It's from our digital collection. Yes. And the designer also made an animation each year, just as a marketing for the presentation. So this is just to make you curious, and I'm sorry that it is in Swedish. And here you can see the map a little bit closer. So I think it's interesting that they don't follow the same pattern, and there are a lot of small cities that are places for translation. Oh, I think that was all I was going to talk about today, and this is just something that wasn't included in the report from the pandemic. There are also some guidebooks on bicycling, of course. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Emma, for your presentation. And we'll be the first to ask Friday.
I have a question. I thought about what visualization tools do you use? You talked about Tableau, but is there anything else you
I basically use Tableau and raw graphs because I have learned Tableau now, so it's convenient to get into depth into that tool. So, but we are working on getting a tool, visualization tool for the National Library that everyone can use and that are safe from a GDPR point of view too. So the data just gets stored at our servers.
Do you need any extra normalization data cleaning? So
Yeah.
when you extract the information from the catalog, is this data are ready to be used in these traps, or you have to clean it a little bit more?
Yeah, it depends on what fields I take it from, but in this case, for example, place of publication, I have to clean because, oh sorry, now my time is up. I have to clean because there are different forms in the catalog. So, but we have stored our whole natural catalog in linked data, so that is helpful. Yes.
So how much work is it to do this? Because we have kind of the same thing at the French National Library, and it's, as you said, you have to clean some fields and so on. So how long do you spend on it, and how many people work on it?
Yes, as I have told you before, I was inspired by the National Library of France statistics. So yeah, it's only me that work on it, are responsible for it. But there also, as I showed, there are a graphic designer who works on it, and.
Does it take many months to produce each year?
It's about 2 months, I would say, very intensive at the end of the year.
And it's only books. You don't do it for the other legal deposit materials?
Our plan is to do that, but we don't have sufficient data yet. So.
In chat, there is
There's one question in the chat from Dorota. Do you have also English version of those reports?
No, that is also a plan for the future.
Is the Swedish version available online?
Yes, you can look at the National Library web pages and search for National Bibliography, and there we have PDF files you can download in Sweden. Sorry?
KB.se.
Exactly, and /nationalbibliograf.
Thank you for promotion.
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat it loudly, KB.sa.
KB.sa.
Any other questions from the audience here, as well as from online audience?
I may have one.
Yeah.
You mentioned PDF to be downloaded from your web page.
Yes.
Do you also publish raw data that you used for these visualizations as well?
As a test, we have done it in Tableau Public, because you can, from Tableau, you can download the data. So if you search on my name in Tableau, you can find some examples.
Are they connected with your web page, this Tableau website? Or?
No, it is.
So you have to search specifically in Tableau?
Yes.
Then, okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
And you can also contact us and we will. And I should also add to that answer that we have a Sparkle endpoint where you can explore the data. And it's libris.kb.se/sparkle, if you remember that. Maybe you can search on Sparkle Endpoint, National Library of Sweden.
Any other question? Maybe I have one. Have you ever analyzed, the data on translation concept, their development in time? If there are any changes through the time? For example, some literature is becoming translated more or less.
Yes, we have done this. Yeah.
Are there any observation? Are there any significant changes which can be traced?
You mean the guidebooks or which?
Basically, the translation in general.
The translation, yes. The translation has decreased the last years. That's one result. But otherwise, it's very regular. I think that's the most surprising result in all fields, subjects, and it's very regular what is published each year. Yes.
Hey, Jose.
Do you have copies of the?
Yes, I do. Yes, I can leave some here.
There would be 22 or 25 copies.
Sorry, I only have 4. So.
Force on the competition to have a copy, and the rest ask them. We have a copy machine here, so if you would like to, we will try to copy it for you.
That's,
Okay.
I think they are downloadable also, but the point is to have it printed. And this is also an advantage that it's so light, you can bring it.
Okay.
So,
Any other question? Just checking also the chat. If it is not the case, thank you everyone very much for your presentation.
thank
And
you. Thank you so much.